Nobody warns you that the holidays don't just remind you of who's gone, they ambush you. Aisle by aisle, song by song, until you're standing in a grocery store holding a can of cranberry sauce, like it personally betrayed you. The first holiday alone, after a major loss, isn't just hard, it's a masterclass in how cruel ordinary things can become. How a string of lights or the smell of cinnamon can crack you open faster than any conversation ever could. Grief researchers call this anniversary reactions. But honestly, that clinical phrase does zero justice to the experience of realizing you bought 2 of everything at the store out of pure muscle memory. There's a psychological phenomenon where the anticipation of a painful event is almost always worse than the event itself. Your nervous system spends weeks building a wall against a wave that, when it finally arrives, looks completely different than you imagined. That doesn't make it easier, it just makes it weirder. You start negotiating with traditions, like their contracts. You can renegotiate. Maybe we skip the big dinner. Maybe we do something completely different. Maybe if we just change the location, the grief won't find us there. Spoiler, grief has great GPS. Therapists and grief counselors consistently say that the #1 mistake people make in that first holiday season is trying to either perfectly replicate what was or completely erase it. Both extremes tend to backfire, leaving you feeling hollow in different directions. The sweet spot, if there even is one, lives somewhere in the uncomfortable middle. Historically, humans have always built ritual around loss. During sacred seasons, from the Mexican Dia de los Muertos to the Japanese Obon festival, cultures figured out centuries ago that you don't outrun grief during the holidays. You invite it to the table and give it a seat. One of the most quietly radical things you can do is create a single new ritual, not to replace what was, but to acknowledge the gap. Whether it's lighting a candle, cooking one specific dish, watching one specific movie, or writing a letter you never send, the act of choosing something intentional transforms you from a passive victim of the season into its author. The hardest moment almost never arrives when you expect it. It's not the main event. It's the Tuesday afternoon, 2 days before, when you realize you don't have to buy that one specific gift anymore. That silence where a task used to live is sometimes louder than the whole holiday itself. Here's the misconception worth dismantling. People think that if you laugh or feel moments of genuine joy during a grief-heavy holiday, you're somehow betraying the person you lost, which is not only false, but is almost certainly the opposite of what they would have wanted for you. The practical lesson from every person who has survived one of these seasons is simple. Lower the stakes aggressively, shrink the surface area, and give yourself explicit permission to leave early, cancel plans, or eat cereal for Christmas dinner if that's what you need. Process matters more than performance. What you're really learning in that first holiday alone is that love doesn't have an off season, and grief is just love with nowhere left to go, so the ritual you build isn't about moving on. It's about moving with. You don't have to get it right. You don't have to feel the right things at the right times. You just have to get through it with enough gentleness toward yourself that you can show up again next year slightly more prepared, slightly more whole. If this resonated with you, subscribe and check out all our other topics.